you live in that scenario. Like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my house. I lost my job. I'm not going to be able to eat. I'm not going to be able to feed my kids. And we go to that worst place scenario and you live in that place instead of saying, you know what, it's going to turn around.
Right, before we get started and hear about this awesome man who I saw a video of this guy years ago and I'm like, that guy. Well, that guy is this guy.
I have overdosed on drugs on 3 occasions where I should have been dead. But I believe I was kept here for a reason. You show me your friends, I will show you your future. How do I know this? I hung out with losers and I became the biggest loser of them all because I gave up everything I dreamt about as a little boy because of who I chose to surround myself with.
I read a book by Viktor Frankl called Man's Search for Meaning, and he was a Jew in the concentration camps, and he talks about the difference between the people that had meaning and people that didn't, and people that had meaning would find meaning in birdsong or a tree or just mowed lawn. And there were the people there that had just lost their will to live, they lost their soul. And when I think about it, a lot of people talk about us needing to find our purpose. You say you travel around the world searching for something. And I think that in Viktor Frankl's book, he talks about the fact that the biggest mistake we'll make is that we're looking outward of ourselves for something rather than inward. So the solution to a lot of our problems actually rests within our heart and in our soul. However, we leave that because we think it's out there somewhere rather than within. And I think that a lot of people right now are starting to wonder about their future, what's it going to be like, and they're going to be focused with a fearful mindset. And I look at that and I think, well, 80% of those people that had those jobs didn't like that job anyway. They went there because they had to do the job because they needed to bring some money in and put some food on the table, but it wasn't their dream, it wasn't their passion. And it leans back into you saying life is so short, you need to treasure every moment and spend time with people you love. I think that's the same for work. You need to find something that you love and spend time doing something that you care about, because to be motivated and inspired, you've got to be doing something that matters to you, which now gives 45 million people, or at least 80%, let's say, a chance to go and do that. But because people are living in fear because of the pandemic, there's this real negativity out there. And on top of that, it's then further amplified by the press, social media, CNN, BBC, you name it, they're all doing their bit. How can we get ourselves in the right state? How can we get ourselves in the right place so that we can try and be optimistic and positive about our oncoming weeks, months, years?
You know, I always say that fear builds mountains and faith removes them. You know, the Native Americans had an old saying that said that we have 2 wolves that live inside of us. There's a positive wolf and a negative wolf. And the one that you feed the most becomes the strongest. And the problem that we're seeing today is so many people are feeding that negative wolf, that negative side of what they consider their reality. And it really just drags you down. I mean, when you watch the news, it's really 99% negative. And that's what seems to sell. And when people just find themselves in front of the television all day watching the horrible things that are happening in the world. And then how do you stay positive when you're constantly around negativity? And our minds are so powerful. And this is what I've learned through my life. Our mind is so powerful. You know, it's what you feed. I want to be positive. I want to think things are going to be okay. We're going to get through this. We got through some tough things. And when you go back into World War I, World War II, and you think some of what they went through, and their government was never giving them $600 extra a week or these pay-per-view pay loans and all these things that people are benefiting from. You know, we are so blessed that we have people that are still helping us. There's not a lot of people in America that are going hungry. I mean, obviously we have our own situations and problems, but the majority of people are doing okay going through this, but we tend to think the worst case scenario. And when you tend to think worst case scenario, you live in that scenario. Like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my house. I lost my job. I'm not going to be able to eat. I'm not going to be able to feed my kids. And we go to that worst place scenario and you live in that place instead of saying, you know what, it's going to turn around. I know this is going to turn around. And it's amazing how soon the phone rings. So someone comes over and gives you good news or something happens. You know, it's happened to me in my life so many times. So we're going to get through this. This too shall pass.